We experience life in our minds. Everything that comes to our senses is not experienced as the thing, it's experienced within us. Suffering happens when the experience within us is against ourselves. So when we're experiencing things like shame, guilt, apathy, and grief, we are really suffering, because shame is you hitting yourself in the head. Not saying that what you like, it's as if the God within you says, hey, you could do better. There's more possible for you. But then the animal nature within you says, I could do better, but look, I didn't do it. And then you say, look, I didn't do it, so I deserve to be punished. So suffering is when you start to punish yourself. So what you could have done, you didn't do, but you just punish yourself. That's a vibrational frequency of 20, y'all. Of 20. So listen, the best thing you can do for your wellness is to get out of shame. And it's a process. So the next one after that is guilt. Look, it's better to be guilty than shameful. It's better to say I could do better than say, look, I didn't do good at all. It's better to say, hey, I ought to do better, than to say, hey, I will never do better. That's the difference between guilt and shame. One says, oh, I'm holding you up to a standard. The other said, hey, look, you fell to the standard. You deserve no second chance. That's what shame does. And with shame, we don't have enough coherent signals to transform our lives. So we can't live in shame. Now, when we go towards things like apathy, right? So we're talking about shame, and then we're talking about guilt, and then we're talking about a higher one that's apathy. So low is I bash myself. Higher is I hold myself accountable. And then when you go a little bit higher is, yo, you know what? I don't even care about what I did. I'm not even interested or enthused about this. I have no concern for my actions. However, at least I'm not holding anything against me. Turns out that having no concern is of higher frequency than having a lot of concern with what you did wrong. So apathy has a higher vibrational force than guilt. And then next comes grief. So you're like, what? Grief is a higher frequency than apathy, guilt, and shame? When we're grieving, not only are we like keeping in mind of the things or people we had and how they're no longer there, this causes grief, but then it means that we're also noticing, we're being great. We also have some sort of that attachment to these things and those people. It creates like a connection. So it's like saying, even though this person is gone, they're still in my heart, type of thing. So it's still higher than shame. And then now when we get into the struggle period is where fear, desire, anger, and pride is at. Like I said, all of these emotions are going up. So from 20 to 75, suffering, 100 to 175, it's kind of a struggle. Now, when you're dealing with things like fear, you get into fear. And this is when you're not sure of what the future is to hold. You're not sure if you're able to handle the challenges of life. You're not sure if you're able to move in spite of what you don't have, what you don't know, and what they think. Or fear can represent itself in multiple ways. Fear can be painting pictures of your mind about the future, that things will never work out for you, that you'll always be a failure, or just like your mama, just like your daddy, just like your sister, just like your cousin. However, fear is still of a way higher emotion, of higher frequency than any of those emotions I told you about. Because with fear, at least you kind of sense, you kind of feel alive. Fear is false expectations appearing real, but at least there are some expectations. At least there is a sense of, yo, I'm thinking about what to do. There is a, like, I want to do this, or I want to go there, and you don't quite know if you can make it happen. And that emotion is still better off than being in shame. And then you start to get up to desire. After being scared of like, yo, if I start this business, will I succeed or will I fail? If I adopt this way of living, will they accept me or will they not accept me? So here's what happens. Before we change our lives, we go to a grieving state, y'all. The grieving state is, man, I have to leave my environment. I have to leave my friends or these people. I have to stop doing that or stop eating that or stop going there. We think we're going to lose things. So that brings the, we're grieving because we're afraid to detach. And then now that we're about to take another steps, you might feel a little fearful because you're like, I don't know, is it going to work out? And then now you step into desire. Desire is when you ask yourself, you say, hey, I can possibly do this. You're like, oh man, I have a desire too. I have a desire to be more happy. I have a desire to be more joyful. I have a desire to start this business, or I have a desire to do whatever. Desire gets you up there. It transmutes the energies. So now that brings you up higher. Now, sometimes things don't happen. You could want something enough. You could desire it. You could have a fire being built up. But sometimes you need a little bit of anger to stir you up so you can force yourself to act. Like when you had enough, when you said, I've had enough, like I'm just angry at the way things are. When you look at something in the world that you say, I hate this right here, something has to be done about it, then we just transmute desire. We go past fear. We do it in spite of. So anger can force you to act. Anger can get you going. It can get you fueled up. It can get you fired up. It can get you to go to a different direction if you let it communicate to you. That anger can fuel you up enough so you discover and find yourself a little bit of pride. And when you get to pride, you get into 175. That's the frequency of 175. Pride says, hey, I'm fired up. I'm stirred up. I'm a little bit angry. So you know what? I know I could do this. So now you start to take the initiative. Pride is much higher than anger. But pride is not where we want to live. But guess what? After we've went from that suffering period to that struggle period, bam, we get into the empowerment period. This is when you find the courage to do the things you've been meaning to do. This is when you find the courage to show up to the Zoom meeting, right? This is when you find the courage to start doing the work, to start journaling. This is when you find the courage to do this woo-woo type stuff or the qigong or the breathing that other people are thinking that, what is this? People fear what they don't know. People judge what they don't know. When you find the courage to act in spite of the fear, in spite of the shame and the guilt, then you're transmuting your energies from lower vibrational field and you're getting to that 200 threshold, y'all. Courage is what transforms your life. So I don't know about you. I don't know what you've been growing through. I don't know if you've been in shame, if you've been in guilt, if you've had indifference, apathy, you don't even care about anything anymore. If you felt like you've lost things, you're losing people, you're losing friendships. If you just have a desire to transform your life, and if you are angry about how things have been, how they've treated you, or how you treated yourself, how your job has treated you, it's time for you to now step into courage. And courage is about the chest, it's about the heart, it's of the heart. It's a certain amount of things that work together to get you going, right? It's forces together, it's emotions, it's movement, it's a power that you build that gets you up to courage. And I don't want you to leave after the podcast and not be encouraged, y'all. This is why I'm here. I'm here to allow you to see that, hey, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're growing through, whether it's of suffering, of struggle, you can step into your power. You can become more empowered once you find the courage to take one action. One action can transform your life. You don't have to necessarily know what you have to do to get there, but you just have to change the direction that you're going. And once you take a different direction, you're going to have a cascading effect of transformation. Literally happens. It is like, I'm telling you, one interception and how you're thinking and feeling can transform your life completely. One thing, y'all. So after you're feeling empowered, now you need to get to the neutrality standpoint. A point where you realize that you have to detach from your emotions. A point where you realize that, hey, I'm not emotions. Hey, I'm not a body. I am a spirit. I am an observer. The reason why I can experience guilt is because I have a part of my brain that is watching over me and saying, hey, you can stay true to what you believe in. You can stay true to your values. So when you notice that, yo, I'm not my emotions, I'm an observer, you can develop this neutrality about life. And neutrality says, hey, I'm experiencing this right now, but this doesn't have to be my life experience. Hey, I'm going through this circumstance right now, but this doesn't. Hey, I used to think this way, but now I'm thinking much differently. Like, neutralize it, y'all. And then now have the willingness to be vulnerable, the willingness to try new things, the willingness to go to the class, the willingness to talk to somebody, the willingness to start working out, the willingness to do the qigong, the willingness to breathe, the willingness to start drinking some vegetable juice, the willingness to start changing your diet, the willingness to let go of some of your friends, y'all, the willingness to make the transformation, because this is when the transformation happens, is when you're able to have the courage to do something in spite of it, find a neutral position when you can detach your spirit from your life experience and then have the willingness to act. But guess what, y'all? You're willing. Like, the spirit is like, what's the verse again? The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. So sometimes you're willing to do something. Sometimes you're willing to transform your life. Sometimes you're willing to do it, but it seems like your body is taking a while to catch up. And even